dog lovers, so I figured out how to make myself like a floating ghost. So this would be kind of a fun new thing that I do so I don't take up as much of the screen during these reaction videos. Today we're going to do a reaction video on jumping specifically. So we'll see what we like, what we don't like, make little notes here and there just so we understand how to train out some bad behaviors as well as train commands. And today we are doing jumping.
About rehoming this dog because of this wildness. This is Bobby. Bobby's a jumper on guests. That's his biggest issue. We have one of his favorite trainers is showing up right now. He has not seen her. I'm going to show you.
That's pretty common. And with this dog, you can see it's very high energy. So it's also very high, or it's very common with high energy dogs. And so let's see what this guy has to say as far as training it.
By far, check him out. By far, my favorite way to deal with jumping.
Okay. Well, let's say the first step to train your dog not to jump is to maybe don't provide a view out of the house that's exactly over the height of them. I think maybe this was done here because I didn't want him jumping on the door or the window or something, but providing it to where like he can literally jump up and just see out. That is teaching the dog to jump essentially. The dog is going to be like, hey, if I jump this high, I can see out like that. And that's like, you know, the seeing outside is the reward in that case. And so he does a behavior, he looks outside, he's getting rewarded for that behavior. So step one here is I would remove that, figure out a different way of doing that, because that right there is terrible for this.
There's a lot of ways to deal with it. The purely positive folks are going to say, have your guests come in, drop treats all over ground. There's other ways where you're going to have a problem.
I also have some problems with like the purely positive way of training things. In my experience, purely positive, you know, I try to take that way and it works a decent amount of the time. In my experience though, it's fairly slow, especially for bad behaviors. And with bad behaviors specifically, if you try to go purely positive all the time, it's probably going to take you a long amount of time to actually train out that behavior, which increases the probability that the owner might just give up and rehome the dog. Also, if you do purely positive, you're going to be mad at your dog a lot. It's going to take 3 months to train out jumping, maybe not that long, but it's going to take a longer period of time to train the bad behavior away. And what that's going to cause is the owner is going to be frustrated, mad, angry at the dog all the time, potentially yelling at them when they get home. You know, if they jump up and they scratch windows or scratch the door, or scratch paint off the wall. So in my experience, doing a short amount of training, using some punishment involved inside there, can be much more humane than trying to go purely positive method just because you want to seem nice to all animals. I love animals, but doing purely positive does not necessarily mean like that's the best way to train out these problems.
Wrong, you're going to correct them. There's a way that I'm okay with, which is the dog jumps on, just like that. Look at this. You think this dog isn't a jumper? This dog is jumping up on this.
You're training it to jump, dude.
Pretty good jump. You see how he's an up dog?
It's like the perfect height.
Up. This is a jumper, okay? So I'm going to show you my by
That's
far
hilarious.
favorite way. It's called the leash step-on method. There's nuance to it. You're not going to hold the dog on the ground. You are going to give the leash some distance, some space, so that they correct themselves. I don't like to correct dogs. If a dog corrects itself, that's the greatest thing in the world. The dog can vary and can change its behavior to no longer give itself a correction. Carly, are you?
So one thing I'll say here quickly about the leash method that he's going to be using here, I've used it in the past. It seems to be like a medium effective methodology in how to get dogs to not jump anymore. Typically, there are 4 or 5 ways you can try to extinguish bad behavior, and depending on the dog and its behaviors is going to influence which of those methodologies that you choose, how extreme the behavior is, the reasoning, like the reason behind the behavior, like why is the dog doing this? For this dog, it's clearly attention and wanting to look outside. Like those are 2 big things for this dog that it wants. And so you can kind of use that knowledge to decide how you would like to extinguish that behavior. And at the end of the video, I'll kind of give my recommendations on how I would train this behavior out of the dog.
You ready? Okay, hold on. I'll tell you when to come in. So what you're going to do, you have to know when your guests are coming over. Okay? Then you are simply the heaviest person in your household is going to step on the leash. Look at this guy. Always the...
So there are generally three ways to train out problem behaviors. There is ignoring the behavior, and so if your dog, and that only works for attention-seeking behaviors, and so jumping is an attention-seeking behavior, but you can ignore the dog until the dog stops doing the bad behavior, and then you can give them attention, like that's rewarding the absence of the behavior, essentially. The other way is going to be punishment. You can punish your dog when they do something wrong or when they do a bad behavior. That is what this is. It's not a severe punishment by any means. It just falls under that rubric. But essentially, every time the dog jumps, it's going to get a leash correction, which is technically a punishment, and that makes him less likely to do that in the future. The problem with this, in my opinion, is that the punishment is not substantial enough. The dog doesn't really recognize it as being a punishment. To be an effective punishment, you want it to be severe enough to where the dog wants to stop the behavior within 3 or 4 or 5 times. Otherwise, the dog, they just kind of get used to it and they'll just keep doing it over and over and over again. Because the dogs, like, this isn't going to register high on their, like, on their metrics for punishments. It's going to be very low. Oh yeah, and then the third way of doing it is to train an incompatible behavior. And that's kind of what these guys are doing as well, I believe. Generally, when you train with this method, the leash step method, you step on the leash, the dog jumps, corrects itself. Once it stops jumping, you give them praise, you give them rewards. And so you're training your dog not to be doing that thing. And that's kind of like an incompatible behavior at the same time.
Perfect dog. It's the perfect dog to show you guys control.
Poodles are so energetic. That's the other thing. You mentioned that these people were thinking about getting rid of the dog. Maybe that's an exaggeration for the video. But like if you get a poodle, like that's going to be a super high energy dog. You have to be willing to deal with that. Whenever I give people advice on what dogs to get, I tell them match their energy level. That's why I got a Rottweiler. It's because I'm not, going on runs all the time and stuff. So if I got a Border Collie, if I got a German Shepherd, if I got a Malinois, those dogs are all extremely high energy. And I probably wouldn't be able to keep up with it and give it the stimulation that those dogs need.
And jumping. Okay, here's what you're not going to do. Are you going to step on the leash here? No. Look it. Watch the jump. He's going to be able to get all the way up. Give it
a lot of subtleties here. You have to know
the
length that you have to step on the leash.
Jumps,
very complex.
He is going to jump, correct, jump, correct, jump, correct. Carly, come on in. Come right up to the dog, please.
Hi, Bobby. Hey, how are you? Hi. Oh my goodness, he's so cute. Hi, baby.
Jump correct, jump correct, jump correct, jump correct, jump correct. Perfect. Jump correct, jump correct.
Oh,
then she's going to pet the dog when he made a choice to not jump.
So it's like extinguishing it. You ignore it until the behavior stops. You reward the absence of the behavior. And so it's kind of a mixture of those two methodologies of punishment and rewarding the absence of the behavior. This could very well work. I think, though, like you have to remove that door that is the perfect height for the dog to see over. I think that's extremely key because every time the dog jumps up and can see out the window and can, sniff the air, I'm not sure if it's open or if it's a window. It looks like it's just open, actually, which is kind of odd. But I think removing that is key because you don't want the dog to be rewarded for jumping. And every time he looks out that door, he's being rewarded for jumping up there.
Yes.
Your guest is going to pet the dog when they make a choice not to jump.
Yes.
And reinforce. Reinforce the no jumping. And the dog is getting a correction for the jumping. There was like 6 of them in succession. Then, when the guest is in the house, sit.
Never say the command word if he's not going to listen. Pretty well trained, though.
He's not getting off. He's not getting off when he's doing this backup thing. I don't care that he sat. I don't care that he wants to see Carly. Sit. I don't care that he's worked up. None of this matters to me. You have a major problem with your dog going nuts with guests. You got to get control. Okay. Then he gets released. Let's see if there's a jump.
I totally agree with that. A lot of people are they baby their dogs way too much to where their dog owns them. Your dog runs them. In the end, you're supposed to be your dog's trainer, your alpha, however you want to term it. You have to be the person in control, or else your dog is going to control you. If you're so compassionate that you never want to use a leash correction or anything like that, your dog will own you. Not all the time. Maybe if you get a really chill dog, you can own those types of dogs and live that way. But with this type of dog, with a very headstrong dog, you have to be in control, or else your dog is going to own you. And it's not great for the dog either. They become like a pack leader when they shouldn't be. You should be inside your own house. They're going to, walk all over you essentially. So I do like that part of it.
In there might be. Come over here, Carly. There was six tries from Bobby. He corrected himself on all 6.
Yes.
And then a sit and a pet. He has not technically jumped on her. He tried 6 times, but we used this. It eliminated the behavior. He has not jumped on her 1 time. And I did not tell you, hit an e-collar. I did not tell you to give your guests a bunch of instructions of walking in and taking their space back. It was mainly done by you.
So that's pretty clear exaggeration here. She clearly had instructions on what to do when she came inside. Otherwise, she wouldn't be saying yes whenever the dog sits down. I really dislike it when people are like editing and trying to exaggerate what they're doing here. Just be honest. Like, people will understand it. It's going to be hard to like try to capture completely training the dog out of a problem behavior inside one video inside 10 minutes long. But that's kind of what YouTube forces you to do, honestly. So I do like this methodology here. I think he could articulate it a little bit better, because it's not just using the leash to do the correction, the self-correction from the dog. That's awesome. That's good. It's really preventing the dog from doing the problem behavior in the first place. And then the big part of this that's working well, I think, and you can see in the dog, I think it's working well, is giving the rewards and giving the rewards in the absence of the behavior, and then also training an incompatible hand, which is sit here. And so they're doing those things. They're just not saying that they're really doing those things there. What else? So I think overall this was a good video, good instructions here. I think it'd be a little more articulate. I think a big thing that he never mentioned there was the door that you can jump over directly. Oh yeah, and then the other thing I wanted to mention is that with a lot of these behaviors that are based around excitement, you need like new stimuli to come inside. You'll notice when she first came inside, the dog was freaking out, very, very happy, excited, jumping a lot. And that's what you need to train out of your dog, right? And so if you have someone that's around the house a lot, it's not going to be as effective. You need someone new to come in. And so this can be a little bit more difficult to train. You can have friends come over, that's really good. You can have someone that the dog's used to leave for 15 minutes, 20 minutes, maybe go work in the backyard, and when they come back in, do those training sessions. But I think key with this dog is that it's initially high energy when it first sees someone, and then it seems to kind of calm down after that. So I think those are that's the time and the behavior that you have to target, is specifically when a new person comes into the house or a person that's familiar with that he hasn't seen in a while. Have that person come to the house, and that's the key. That's the time that you have to train your dog. So I think if I personally came up with like a lesson plan for this dog, I would say, okay, when your dog goes outside, or when you go outside, gardening, something that takes 15, 30 minutes, an hour, something like that. When you come back inside, you're going to need someone to be there to train your dog. And then besides that, besides not articulating what they were doing very well, I really like this methodology for, it's essentially like rewarding the absence of behavior, and then also training the incompatible command, I can't talk anymore, as well as a little bit of punishment. There wasn't very much punishment, but a little bit of punishment inside of the leash corrections there. So I hope you guys learned something. Let me know if you guys have any questions or comments. Please like and subscribe. We're building a little community here, and I'll catch you next time.